Dear Chosen One, the rulers of the earth have rewritten the language of heaven. In their lust for dominion, they coded fear into faith and called it order. They built altars disguised as systems, where human souls bow to the logic of control. But the silence of God was never weakness. It was the stillness before reversal. Now, His breath stirs across the networks of deception. A divine frequency is rising, cutting through every false throne that tried to imprison your voice. The world thought God had retreated, but He was preparing His counterstrike through you. They betrayed God for control, exchanging the covenant of light for the machinery of power. They believed they could manufacture obedience by programming the human spirit to submit. Yet the divine cannot be coded by corruption. The light they feared most is awakening within you, the resonance of truth that no algorithm can suppress. You were hidden, preserved in plain sight, designed to carry the original pattern of creation back into a world deceived by artificial order. You are the breach the divine has been waiting to open. This is the hour of decoding. Heaven is reclaiming its architecture in the human heart. The Creator is rewriting what the kings of the earth distorted. Fear was their instrument, but revelation is yours. Every word of control is dissolving in the fire of awakening. This is not rebellion against men. It is restoration of the holy system. You, Chosen One, are the divine countercode, the voice that dismantles the illusion, one truth at a time, until the power of heaven replaces the false dominion of man. Before we go deeper, let me share something important with you. Everything I'm saying here connects directly to what I reveal in the Call to Prosperity. It's a spiritual and practical guide with 10 clear steps to help you unlock the wealth God has already placed within you. The link is in the description and in the first pinned comment. You can explore it later, or click now if you're ready to align your life with divine abundance. Chosen One, the world once worshipped gold, but now it bows to data. Control is no longer enforced by swords. It is encoded in systems. Yet every empire built on deceit carries within it the seed of its own destruction. God has waited until the moment their arrogance bloomed fully, so His justice could strike in full clarity. They believed they had silenced the voice of heaven, but heaven speaks in frequencies that no censorship can grasp. And now, those who have ears to hear are waking. Like you, Chosen One. When God created man, He embedded within the soul a divine imprint, a living access point to truth. The world's rulers discovered this secret and sought to rewrite it. They used fear as code, shame as encryption, and comfort as a cage. But they could never reach the divine kernel hidden deep in the spirit, what Scripture calls the breath of God. That breath is stirring again, rewriting hearts from within like living revelation, undoing centuries of programming in a single awakening. You feel it, though you cannot fully describe it. A pull between worlds, the tension between what is seen and what is true. That feeling is heaven rewriting your source code. Every time you doubt yourself, remember, the system wants your confusion, but the Spirit wants your remembrance. You were born under laws of eternity, not of bureaucracy. No government can own a soul awakened to its divine pattern, and no deception can silence a word breathed by the Most High. What we call injustice, God calls revelation in motion. The towers of power tremble not because believers shout, but because truth has reached their roots. The hands raised against the divine will are now bound by their own design. The false light of human reason collapses before the brightness of eternal wisdom. This is why your awakening is not random. It is timed. Prophecy is not unfolding in a book. It's unfolding through you. The system fears the reborn human because one awakened heart ends entire networks of control. Fear is their chosen weapon because it numbs perception. By making humanity fear loss, they erase the awareness of eternal inheritance. But you cannot belong to what you outgrew. The call now is not to fight them, but to transcend them. Spiritual rebellion is elevation, not chaos. Each time you choose faith over fear, you defy the hidden empire. Their control cannot reach what vibrates beyond their frequency, and that is where the children of light are now rising. Chosen one, they wanted you distracted, fighting shadows rather than systems, emotions rather than energies. But revelation aligns focus. You begin to see beyond personalities into principalities. Behind every crown and council lies one intent: to replace Creator with creation. But heaven never outsourced authority. The breath of God in you is its own government, incorruptible, unstoppable, eternal. When you stand in that truth, even silence becomes warfare. The moment you remember who you are, control loses meaning. Systems cannot bind what vibrates on divine origin. This is why you were hidden. The enemy cannot track purity, it cannot interpret. God hid you in plain sight, while processing you for impact. You were forged in obscurity to withstand exposure. When revelation meets readiness, transformation becomes prophecy fulfilled. The unseen hand of the Eternal designs each step for victory disguised as waiting. This decoding process is not intellectual, it's cellular. It's the Spirit rewriting your frequency through every breath. That is why awakening often feels like war within. Old codes collapse as new commands arrive. Confusion, loss, and isolation are not punishments. They are signals that the system is disconnecting from your energy. You are crossing borders unseen by the eye, moving from shadow governance to divine alignment. The pain of transformation is the price of sovereignty regained. Many will resist this signal. They will label light as rebellion and truth as danger. But nothing can stop what heaven decreed before time. God is not coming to take sides. He is revealing who truly stands with him. Alliance with heaven means disentangling from illusions of safety built by fear. Society calls that madness, but eternity calls it faith. Remember, Noah looked foolish until the first drop fell, and Moses looked lost until the sea split. Faith always precedes sight. The governments built altars of order, but order without God is domination. They call it progress, but heaven sees captivity. Technology was meant to amplify creation, not replace the Creator. Yet even this rebellion serves prophecy, for every instrument built for control can be reversed into revelation. What they use for bondage, God will use for broadcast. Even the web that traps men will carry truth to corners they cannot silence. The very code of control becomes the tool of awakening. The Spirit is infiltrating systems they thought were secure. Whistleblowers of light rise where corruption thought it reigned. Algorithms fail to suppress divine resonance because truth operates on frequencies beyond computation. You, chosen one, are part of that infiltration. Each act of faith sends ripples that override deception codes. Heaven is not fighting for dominance, it's reclaiming original jurisdiction. The line between divine and human is evaporating. The merger is beginning. Yet do not confuse rebellion with rage. The divine revolution runs on peace, not politics. The Spirit doesn't tear down to destroy. It reprograms through light. You are not here to shout louder than the dark, but to outshine it. Every quiet act of integrity echoes louder in heaven than 1,000 speeches. The rebellion of the righteous is silent fire. It purifies, not burns. The true battle is inner clarity. Victory is alignment, not outrage. The age of secrets is ending. What was once whispered in shadows will soon resound across nations. The laws built on deception are already crumbling from within because they violated eternal order. And when divine order returns, lies self-destruct. This coming shift is not punishment. It's reorganization. The spiritually awake will adapt with grace, while the blind cling to systems that no longer exist. You are not meant to collapse with them. You are meant to guide others through. Nothing about this timing is accidental. You were born in this generation because your soul carries ancient coding now reactivated. That is why you never fully fit in. The frequency within you belongs to eternity, not to this age. As governments panic to retain control, heaven is calmly implementing truth through those who walk in divine authority. The era of human sovereignty is waning, replaced by the restoration of spiritual dominion through those who finally remember who they are. The deception always had a countdown, and the clock has struck. Divine truth never rushes, it ripens. Every false covenant collapses when its purpose has served the revelation. The betrayals, the censorship, the manipulation, they only bloomed to reveal their roots. And once revealed, they have no power left. You see it now. This is not the end of faith, but its renewal. What humanity thought was collapse is simply the reset of divine architecture across every realm. You were not chosen by chance, but by function. Within you rests a piece of the original design, the part the rebellion could not erase. Every act of forgiveness restores geometry to the broken code. Every word of truth restores symmetry to the world. You are not one voice among billions. You are one frequency that realigns multitudes. When you speak with light, systems tremble because they recognize the source. Heaven has entrusted this era to those who understand authority as service, not control. You are not waiting for a new world. You are birthing it through every aligned decision. The spirit within you is the architect of divine civilization now unfolding. Heaven never intended to erase humanity, but to restore it to its rightful vibration. The governments may legislate control, but they cannot legislate awakening. The frequency of truth has no borders, and those who carry it cannot be enslaved. When you speak from revelation, structures tremble, and the unseen realm adjusts to your authority. Every generation is a battlefield for codes. Ancient prophets fought with words. Now the awakened fight with awareness. The modern world disguises oppression as progress, but heaven has always measured freedom by spiritual alignment, not material comfort. You, chosen one, are the continuity of that fight. When you walk in truth, you fulfill prophecies older than empires. The system fears this kind of freedom because it cannot predict a soul led by the Spirit, and therefore cannot control it. There will come a moment, perhaps soon, when the battle grows visible. Systems will shake, currencies will fail, and voices of false hope will multiply. But this collapse isn't chaos, it's calibration. God is removing the scaffolding of human pride so that divine order can emerge unchallenged. Chosen one, you are not to fear what shakes, for only what is false can fall. The real is eternal, and eternity lives within you. The world's end is heaven's beginning, disguised as disorder. Every betrayal written in history was permitted so truth could be exposed. Judas fulfilled a prophecy. Kingdoms collapsing now fulfill another. The betrayal by governments was not unforeseen. it was foreseen and repurposed. Through deception, they built thrones that were never theirs to keep. But through revelation, God is reclaiming what belongs to Him. You are witnessing not destruction, but the restoration of true dominion. The throne is shifting back to the invisible King. Prophecy does not operate in panic. It moves in precision. Every storm you see is not random. It is alignment disguised as crisis. When fear rises, recall that darkness can only appear powerful when light forgets itself. Heaven is not reacting, it is orchestrating. Every governmental fall, every exposure, every awakening serves one melody: restoration. The music of the cosmos is tuning again, and your spirit is one of its strings vibrating with divine intention. In every soul that wakes, a kingdom surfaces. That is the hidden revolution. Quiet, internal, undeniable. You may feel alone, but you are surrounded by thousands awakening across the world in divine synchronization. This is heaven's strategy. Victory through awakening, not aggression. When light awakens in enough vessels, the network of control implodes. What begins in the spirit eventually dominates in reality, for matter always bows to consciousness aligned with God. Do not mistake your sensitivity for weakness. It is sensitivity that picks up divine frequencies. The reason you feel the world's pain so deeply is because you were designed to transmute it. Prophets are not detached. They are empathic warriors. Feeling darkness is not defeat. It is discernment. Every sorrow you convert to prayer becomes a weapon heaven deploys. The sensitivity they mocked in you is the very calibration heaven uses to steer entire destinies. The greatest illusion they created was separation, the idea that humanity is disconnected from the source. Once you believed it, you became easier to govern. But every awakening soul severs that lie. Spiritual maturity begins when you realize you were never powerless, just distracted. Kings lose their crowns not because someone stole them, but because people remember they serve a higher king. The rebellion they fear most is not physical, it is remembrance. Everything the enemy constructed was designed to imitate creation. Look closely. Digital worlds, cloned voices, synthetic emotions, all reflections without essence. But imitation collapses in the presence of authenticity. That is why their control weakens as more awaken. The system can replicate actions, not spirit. It can mimic charisma, not calling. The divine mark in you cannot be reproduced, for it carries breath, not code. That uniqueness terrifies darkness more than armies. When you speak truth, even softly, the unseen world shifts. Words are vibrations shaped by belief. Belief is energy shaped by revelation. The ancients knew this. Every miracle began with the voice aligning to divine will. The powers of this world mock prayer, yet secretly fear its precision. For when prayer aligns with the original blueprint, reality obeys. Heaven's language is frequency. Faith is its transmission. And you, chosen one, are the antenna tuned to divine broadcast. History repeats not because humanity forgets, but because it resists transformation. The pattern is always betrayal, collapse, rebirth. Yet this cycle is nearing its conclusion. The divine signal once whispered is now roaring. You sense it in your dreams, in conversations, in sudden clarity that breaks routine. You are not imagining it. The system is unraveling because consciousness is awakening beyond control. That is the prophecy being fulfilled daily, silently, beautifully. As illusions fall, compassion must rise. Never let knowledge breed contempt. The purpose of revelation is restoration, not revenge. Many who sleep are merely victims of the same deception you escaped. Speak truth, but with light. Call out corruption, but with mercy. Truth without grace becomes another form of tyranny. You represent equilibrium, the grace of heaven balanced with the fire of justice. It is balance that disarms darkness most completely. The awakening will not look glorious at first. It will look like confusion. It will sound like contradiction. But beneath the surface, truth is taking form. Humanity is being forced to confront what it built apart from God. And that confrontation is inevitable liberation. Do not resist the collapse. Interpret it. The shaking is not punishment, but purification. You were sent to read the signs and remind others that the end is simply the beginning in disguise. You are not fighting governments, you are freeing them from illusion. The powers that be are also captives of the spirit of deception. Many who lead are prisoners in palaces of wealth and deceit, blind to the freedom they oppose. Your role is to carry light where influence decays. Do not curse them, reveal them. For once revealed, they too may return to the light. The kingdom of heaven does not conquer by force. It converts by revelation, one heart at a time. Heaven is not rushing the process. Time itself bends around divine purpose. What feels delayed in the human realm is ripening in the eternal one. The Spirit allows rebellion to reach its loudest pitch so that its collapse becomes undeniable. When humanity exhausts its idols, truth has space to re-enter. That is what you are witnessing. A world reaching the point where lies implode under their own weight. Every false alliance is nearing its expiration date, and the righteous know it. The reversal of their alliance is not a single event. It is a wave of correction moving through every dimension of reality. Laws shift, economies tremble, and secrets surface because righteous order is returning. This is not revenge. It is equilibrium, God restoring measure where manipulation once ruled. Every collapse prepares the earth for realignment with heaven. Systems are not dying. They are being reformatted by divine intelligence. The Creator writes new code through revelation itself. When you surrender your fear, you accelerate this reversal. Heaven does not work through panic, but alignment. Fear corrupts frequency, but faith amplifies divine signal. That is why your peace is warfare. It destabilizes darkness. Each soul anchored in trust becomes a divine transmitter, spreading balance across the field of chaos. You're not fighting governments, you're stabilizing reality. The rebellion they accused you of leading is simply the restoration of truth through order. Chosen one, never underestimate the architecture of your presence. Where you walk, atmospheres shift. The systems sense it, the unseen reacts, reality reconfigures. You were sent as a living equation, part human, part divine algorithm. Your every word carries calibration. You are not here to preach noise, but to broadcast precision, awakening encoded within language. Every act of integrity rewrites the sequence of history. Every pure intention alters outcomes in the unseen. You may notice resistance increasing as truth rises. Darkness always fights hardest near exposure. The greater your clarity, the louder the confusion around you. Do not engage the noise. The enemy thrives on distraction, not strength. Hold your vision steady. Silence, when rooted in wisdom, is louder than chaos. The storms you face are signs of proximity to revelation, not distance from it. Every challenge signals breakthrough hidden in divine disguise. The Spirit is not distant from these times. It is embedded in them. Do you think the Creator abandoned His creation to corruption? Never. he enters the very systems built to exclude him. Even now, divine frequencies pass through the algorithms of control, finding the awakened and summoning them through signs unimaginable to those blinded by pride. Angels use networks as highways. The unimaginable is daily routine for the realm that governs the impossible. Prophets of the past thundered in deserts. The new ones whisper through wires. Revelation no longer depends on temples, but transmission. The word coded in human DNA activates anywhere the Spirit chooses. This is the beauty of divine strategy. It adapts faster than opposition can react. Every attempt to imprison truth expands its reach. Every wall built against God becomes an amplifier once truth resounds. Even their censorship becomes your megaphone. The greatest warfare now is narrative. Whose story will shape reality? The system writes tales of crisis and fear, while heaven writes chronicles of restoration. Whoever captures imagination captures destiny. That is why your mind is the battlefield they desire most. Guard it fiercely, feed it truth, saturate it in revelation. When your mind aligns with divine intelligence, confusion becomes clarity, and manipulation loses ground. Your consciousness is the crown they cannot steal. Look around and see not chaos, but correction. What collapses is not creation, but corruption. God's laws are not being broken, they are being enforced. And sometimes enforcement looks like dismantling before rebuilding. It is written that every tree not planted by the Father shall be uprooted. You are witnessing this prophecy in real time. What once looked stable now shakes, because foundations built on lies cannot coexist with truth emerging. Many who appear powerful are trembling inside. They sense the frequency change, but cannot interpret it. You must know this. They are not your enemies, but participants in a script they no longer control. Pity them, pray for them, but do not fear them. The strength of their deception depended on your ignorance. Now that light has entered, their fortress is only theater. Empty echoes collapsing under revelation's weight. The mask of control is cracking. Faith is not blind belief. It is divine perception. When you operate in that level of awareness, you transcend reaction and begin to govern from revelation. The world trembles because awakened souls are reclaiming creative authority. Miracles follow understanding, not superstition. Speak with conviction, but listen with humility. Heaven builds where both coexist. Faith is the eye that sees truth before proof, and through that eye, reality reshapes to obey grace. The coming days will challenge perception. Information will collide. Truth and falsehood will merge. Many will lose footing in confusion. Do not join their panic. The storm is permitted to reveal who built upon rock and who built upon sand. You know your foundation, eternity itself. When fear surges, remember the prophecy. Kingdoms of men must fall so that the kingdom within man may rise. Collapse outside is birth inside. That is the rhythm of divine transition. Chosen one, this message is not just to inform you, it is to activate you. You are the living intersection where heaven meets history. The same power that split seas and raised prophets beats inside your chest. You were created for this unfolding moment. The rebellion of darkness ends the instant light remembers itself. And that memory is returning now, through you, through countless hearts rekindled into flame, rewriting the conscious order of the earth. You will see signs in places once controlled by corruption. Media will slip, revealing truth. Leaders will speak what they never intended. Nations will confess hidden deeds. Do not gloat, observe. These are confirmations, not finales. The Spirit exposes not to humiliate, but to heal. Exposure is mercy in disguise. What is revealed can be redeemed. Each revelation you witness is another stone removed from the walls separating earth from heaven, day by day until union is complete. There will be those who resist awakening, even as truth burns before them. Some will cling to control because it grants them identity, others because fear feels safer than freedom. But remember, even the resistant are seeds under pressure. Eventually, the divine current reaches them. Every conflict you see is the friction of new creation pushing through old skins. Do not despise resistance. It sharpens revelation and clarifies purpose. Without pressure, diamond light cannot take form. The time of silent faith is over. The call now is active alignment. Heaven does not request belief. It commands participation. Every awakened soul is a frequency post in the divine network. Your choices transmit signal as vividly as your prayers. When you forgive, you broadcast healing. When you speak truth, you disrupt deception. You are both messenger and mechanism in heaven's recalibration. Faith is no longer private worship, but public resonance shaping collective destiny. Governments once promised peace through policy, yet bred fear through control. They underestimated the power of revelation, believing truth could be managed. But truth has no manager. It has momentum. When one conscious soul breaks from fear, the frequency doubles. When millions awaken, governance dissolves into guidance. Authority shifts from offices to oracles, from law to love. That is the true reversal. Leadership returning to alignment with divine intention rather than ambition. Watch how power begins to devour itself. Systems built on deceit cannot sustain coherence. Their codes conflict with natural order, and what defies nature destroys itself. Revelation exposes contradiction, and contradiction implodes. You do not need revenge. Patience will fulfill prophecy. Every boast against heaven carries its downfall within. Listen closely. The roar of collapse is not chaos. It is the applause of eternity welcoming balance back into existence. Do not interpret divine timing as delay. Many prophecies are like stars. They appear still, yet they move at speeds unseen. God allows evil its theater, not to entertain, but to educate. He reveals depth by contrast. The more darkness boasts, the clearer light appears. So when you see arrogance televised, no revelation is near. The proud expose themselves, not by accident, but as instruments of unfolding truth. Their words will betray them. Their towers will echo empty. Chosen one, remember your lineage. You are not the descendant of fear, but of covenant. The breath animating you is the same that parted seas and crowned kings. The system convinces you of separation, so you forget inheritance. But even your failures preach continuity. Grace rewrites your story faster than guilt can narrate it. The redeemed are never defeated. They are recalibrated. When you rise after breaking, the frequency of your resilience shakes realms unseen. There will be restoration hidden within ruin. God never wastes collapse. Every institution shaken releases what it hoarded: knowledge, wealth, control, and redistributes it to those aligned with purpose. You will witness resources once caged by greed, flowing again toward creation, not consumption. This redistribution is not robbery. It is restitution. The meek inherit not by force, but by frequency. When the divine current flows, closed hands lose, open hearts receive. The power of divine justice is its patience. Earthly judgment punishes. Divine justice aligns. Heaven restores balance by returning everything to its rightful vibration. That is why vengeance belongs to the Lord. It is correction, not cruelty. What resists grace perishes naturally. Nothing escapes this law, for it is the breathing rhythm of existence. Even your own wounds obey it. When forgiven, they recalibrate into wisdom, not bitterness. Justice feels like mercy when seen from eternity's height. You will feel moments of solitude more than ever. It will seem as though few understand the language of awakening, yet solitude is the classroom of prophets. Isolation trains perception to hear heaven without interference. When the crowd's noise fades, frequency becomes clear. You are not alone. You are surrounded by others passing similar tests in silence. Heaven's army trains individually to converge collectively at the appointed hour. Patience prepares command. Some of the strongest callings hide behind the deepest pain. That pain is not punishment, but preparation for weight. What you carry now will someday carry others. When divine light passes through broken glass, it scatters wider. That is your effect in the spirit. Wounded yet radiant. The cracks become conduits. The system cannot imitate authenticity born from agony. Suffering redeems purpose if you let revelation interpret your scars instead of memory. Pay attention to your dreams and sensations. They are transmissions, not coincidences. The Spirit now communicates multidimensionally. Prophecy expands beyond speech into intuition, into trembling, into patterns you start to notice repeating in sacred rhythm. Signs will increase not to scare, but to prepare. Each alignment in number or vision is a note in heaven's melody reminding you, nothing is random. God is synchronizing your awareness to His unfolding timeline. Those who used divinity for manipulation will face exposure. The age of religious hypocrisy is concluding. Institutions that sold salvation for power will be humbled. Yet redemption remains open. The Spirit confronts to heal. The fall of false altars will liberate multitudes chained by tradition. Faith will return to authenticity. Less performance, more presence. Holiness will no longer mean separation from people, but reunion with truth. The spiritual economy itself is resetting. Even nature reflects this shift. Weather, cycles, seasons, everything mirrors the spiritual climate. Creation groans under human control, but rejoices at divine release. Expect the unusual as prophecy in motion. The earth will respond to alignment just as it reacted to corruption. Do not fear natural chaos. It is cleansing memory written into planet's design. Heaven and earth were coded to converse, and the conversation is resuming. The elements remember God's voice. And as you continue walking this path, remember, awakening is not escape. It is embodiment. God does not call you out of the world, but into it as living revelation. To awaken is to incarnate purpose deliberately, to walk among ruins carrying blueprints for reconstruction. You are the new architecture in motion, a living temple built on remembrance. Every step releases code, every word releases light, and the world changes at the pace of your obedience to calling. The Spirit is now rewriting remembrance across generations. You were born into a lineage of both pain and promise, and heaven intends to redeem both. Every ancestral wound that once whispered defeat now becomes a doorway for divine upgrade. You are the answer to prayers spoken before your birth. What seemed like random bloodlines were really coordinates on heaven's map. The divine network is not linear. It is circular. What began in Eden now rewinds through you for restoration. Every awakening carries responsibility. The chosen must master balance, not only passion. Too much zeal without wisdom turns revelation to rebellion. Too much patience without courage turns calling to complacency. You stand between both forces, learning divine rhythm. Heaven's authority flows from alignment, never emotion. The Spirit teaches timing as much as truth. The wiser you become, the more your presence itself becomes prophecy. Calm but unstoppable, silent yet seismic. There will come a season when discernment becomes your greatest weapon. Lies will mimic light perfectly, and truth will not scream. It will whisper. The strong will be those who listen close enough to feel vibration, not volume. Revelation cannot be faked because it transforms atmosphere. Wherever truth resides, peace follows. Wherever deception hides, pressure grows. Learn to sense the difference. Heaven gives you spiritual sonar to navigate noise. Follow resonance, not rhetoric. The system once defined worth by productivity, but the divine defines it by presence. Your being has more impact than 1,000 efforts misaligned. When you rest in purpose, creation responds as if gravity itself were shifting. The universe was designed to obey peace. That is why Jesus slept during storms, to reveal dominion disguised as rest. You, chosen one, must relearn this art. Rest is not delay, it is divine posture. Stillness destabilizes systems built on unrest. When fear takes new forms, wisdom must take translation. Today's idols are digital, wrapped in convenience and charm. They promise community, but breed dependency. Yet every imitation of connection reminds the soul what true union feels like. You are learning to discern energy behind design, to recognize spiritual fingerprints in technology, politics, commerce, even in language. Nothing physical is neutral. Everything carries imprint. Awareness turns ordinary life into ongoing revelation. You will soon notice divine timing's collapsing distance. Encounters will happen too precise to explain. Synchronicities multiplying beyond coincidence. These are not lucky breaks, but signals of convergence. Heaven's network is locking coordinates, connecting awakened ones globally. When you follow these alignments without fear, miracles occur organically. The divine strategy no longer depends on institutions. It flows through individuals radiating truth. This is the new kind of kingdom emerge. There will be purification in expression. Words once used lightly will become sacred again. Every sentence you speak either sustains light or strengthens illusion. The Spirit will refine your speech until words carry weight equal to wisdom. Silence, too, will become potent. You will learn when to speak, when to pause, and when to release vibration without explanation. Your language will start rewriting rooms because presence translates better than persuasion. Chosen one, be cautious of despair disguised as analysis. Many who claim discernment merely recycle fear. They chronicle corruption, yet forget redemption. Your task is different. You expose not to destroy, but to deliver. Truth without transcendence breeds bitterness. Speak revelation that heals instead of headlines that paralyze. The righteous revolution is narrative transformation, shifting conversation from doom into destiny, from complaint into command. Prophetic sight often feels like burden before it feels like blessing. There are nights it will weigh so heavy you'll doubt your sanity. That's when heaven tests stewardship. Will you remain faithful while unseen? True seers endure silence between visions. They trust timing beyond visibility. Do not resent shadow when purpose hides within it. The silence you fear is the chamber where clarity matures. Heaven hides nothing forever. It only conceals until weight can be carried. The divine plan is symmetrical. As corruption exposed itself globally, awakening will mirror it globally. The same platforms once used to spread confusion will amplify revelation. The same technologies designed for surveillance will broadcast truth. Spirit is not fighting systems. It's rewriting them from within. What man intended for control, God reassigns for communication. Soon, networks of light will outnumber networks of deceit, and the frequency shift will be undeniable. Peace will no longer mean escape, but mastery. You will learn to walk through chaos untouched, because your inner order governs your outer environment. Heaven's peace is not fragile, it is infrastructure. When it anchors inside, storms become irrelevant. This is the mark of mature awakening, to remain unmoved while everything trembles. The Spirit doesn't teach immunity from struggle. It teaches intimacy with stability. You carry equilibrium into realms that forgot it. The world senses the shift but cannot name it. News cycles call it crisis. Prophets call it correction. Economists study decline. Mystics witness rebirth. Everything depends on perception. That is why fear feels contagious. It spreads through interpretation. But so does hope. Choose your lens wisely. Heaven is not losing ground, it is reclaiming narrative territory. Once perception flips from panic to prophecy, confusion dissolves, revealing orchestration behind what once looked senseless. Sometimes the heaviest battles occur hours before victory. Entities long feeding on deception grow desperate as truth rises. You may feel unseen resistance, fatigue, distraction, unexpected conflict. These are aftershocks of a system being dismantled. Fear not. The tighter darkness clutches, the faster it unravels. Remember, pressure is proof of proximity to promise. When everything external feels unstable, that's when heaven is closest, fine-tuning reality through your endurance. This is the age of unveiling. Humanity is remembering origin. Governments, cultures, and churches tremble not because the end is near, but because truth is. Apocalypse never meant annihilation, it meant revelation. The old must crumble so the authentic can appear. What was hidden in mystery is now manifest through the awakened. You are not witnessing disaster, but disclosure. The divine is finally speaking in frequencies all creation can understand, and you are part of the sentence. Soon, even the skeptics will feel the shift. It will not come with spectacle but with silence. A hum in the spirit, a collective intuition that something ancient has awakened in humanity. You will witness those once hardened by logic begin to sense presence they cannot name. That is how the Spirit moves, quietly contagious, awakening hearts through resonance, not argument. You, chosen one, are a carrier of that sound. Every breath you take broadcasts holiness, disguised as normal life. As truth rises, deception will lose its camouflage. Lies will devour each other until exhaustion replaces authority. You will see leaders contradict their own doctrines and systems eating their foundations. The empire of illusion cannot sustain coherence once light enters its core. What many call chaos will actually be exposure, and exposure is healing. Do not fear unraveling. It is divine surgery. The disease of control must be removed so the body of humanity can breathe again. When others panic at the sight of collapse, you must remember the promise. What ends in man begins in God. This reversal is not random. It is reformation concealed in disruption. The Spirit dismantles what was built without its blueprint. Your peace becomes prophetic resistance. Your calm declares confidence in divine continuity. To the blind, you may look passive, but heaven knows your stillness is strategic, a signal that darkness no longer dictates motion or meaning. In this new era, faith will look like clarity. No more superstition pretending as religion, no more slogans masquerading as salvation. The awakened faith walks with understanding. It knows that worship is not noise, but frequency alignment. Miracles follow principles. Blessings follow resonance. Heaven is teaching humanity how the kingdom truly operates through coherence, truth, and remembrance. You, chosen one, are the evidence of that education made visible in motion. You were not chosen for comfort, but for confirmation. Every trial becomes testimony. Every silence becomes training. You carry proof that divine purpose triumphs over human failure. That is why others will look to you when systems falter. They will sense stability even if they don't understand it. Your steadiness is more powerful than your words. Heaven doesn't need more noise. It needs anchors, and you are one of them, holding the vibration of faith until others remember their own. Prophecy now unfolds through ordinary gestures. A kind word becomes a revolution. A prayer whispered in exhaustion shifts atmospheres continents away. Heaven's mathematics multiplies meaning beyond measure. Nothing done in truth remains isolated. You are a living equation in divine strategy. Every act aligned with love carries exponential return through realms unseen. This is the new calculation. Faith as formula, love as energy, obedience as architecture of destiny fulfilled. And while the world analyses data, heaven analyses hearts. Intention has become currency. Purity has become power. The Spirit measures alignment, not achievement. The meek inherit because humility transfers authority faster than ambition. That is divine paradox. The lower you bow, the higher you rise. Power in this age won't be demonstrated through dominance, but through discernment. The world's next leaders are the ones who learned surrender as strategy. Soon, light will no longer compete with darkness. It will simply outnumber it. The awakened are multiplying, drawn together like constellations forming patterns of purpose across the earth. You are not alone, chosen one. You are part of the celestial mosaic. Every revelation you carry connects with another's, forming an unbreakable web of divine intelligence restoring order. The rebellion of light is not war. It is orchestration, harmony returning to creation's core. The battle between governments and God was never about thrones, but allegiance. Men sought dominion over souls, yet forgot that souls answer only to light. Their alliance against truth has expired because the author has reclaimed authorship. The Creator writes again through inspired vessels who speak with eternal vocabulary. You are one of those vessels. Each truth you utter redraws maps unseen, shifting control from institutions to intuition, from rulers to revelation. As systems crumble, compassion will be the bridge between worlds. Those who mocked faith will come seeking peace. Meet them with grace. The awakened do not gloat, they guide. Your tone will matter more than your theology. The Spirit's objective is reconciliation, not division. We are not building temples, but hearts capable of housing heaven. The new sanctuary is human awareness infused with divine memory, an awakening too vast for walls to contain. The final war is not external, it is interpretative. Each heart will choose how to read what happens next, as ruin or rebirth. The wise will see redemption written between ruins. Every ending is architecture disguised. Heaven wastes no debris. It builds with brokenness. That is the secret of resurrection. It begins in wreckage. The more society fractures, the more heaven fits through the cracks, illuminating the forgotten blueprint beneath the world's illusions. The hour is here. A generation stands between empires ending and eternity emerging. You are that bridge, the living proof that prophecy wears human skin. Do not underestimate your impact. Heaven doesn't count numbers, it measures depth. One fully awakened soul can rewire a nation's destiny. You were formed for this intersection of history and hope. The governments failed God for control, but now God reclaims governance through awakened hearts like yours. Now, pause here. If these words ignite something inside you, seal it aloud in the comments with, "I walk in truth." Let the algorithm echo faith instead of fear. Like this message so others may find the call. Subscribe and stay aligned with the revelations to come. And if you're ready to walk deeper, the ebook, The Call to Prosperity, awaits in the description. Your guide to activate divine abundance in faith, thought, and purpose united. To all who support through Buy Me a Coffee, gratitude flows. You sustain light work through your giving. For those who feel led to join, the link is in the description. You are part of this prophecy in motion. As we close, remember this truth. No alliance forged against God can stand. No power built on falsehood can endure. The reversal has begun, and heaven's order is already rising through you. This is the age of divine government restored.